Fall is in the air at the Gadsden Mall. See the new selections from Belk and Martin's Family Clothing. The new fall body care and home fragrances at Bath & Body Works. Seasonal ideas from Balloons by Lynn, where all your fall parties and events come to life. And browse the Collector Showcase, featuring comics, toys, sports cards, posters, jewelry, frame prints, and memorabilia. September 15th through the 25th. See you this fall at the Gadsden Mall.
Opening this week at Premier Cinema 16. From the producers of It, The Grudge, and The Ring comes their latest masterpiece of suspense, Barbarian. Early bird shows this Saturday on select features at Premier Cinema 16 in the Gadsden Mall.
Being an Army Ranger is a very fast-paced lifestyle. I was clearing a weapons cache in Haditha, Iraq, when the building collapsed on me, burying me alive. I spent 6 months in the hospital and a year of recovery. When I was separated from the military, I just felt like I was useless because I only had this one thing that I was supposed to do, and then that one thing was taken away from me. And then one day, I got a call from Wounded Warrior Project. They asked me to come to a workout, and I decided that I was going to get better, both physically and mentally. Now I'm a warrior leader. I create events and opportunities for other veterans locally. Wounded Warrior Project did a phenomenal job reminding me that my injuries aren't going to define who I am. And because of that, I can do anything that I want.
See how we help warriors combat stigma at woundedwarriorproject.org/combat stigma.
Watch out for people riding bikes. It's not just courteous. Now it's the law. The new 3 Feet for Safety Act requires that drivers give at least 3 feet of space when passing bicyclists. More and more people are commuting and touring Alabama on bicycles. As the number of cyclists on our roads increases, so does the need for safe driving. So slow down and give cyclists 3 feet of room. Follow the rules of the road and watch out for each other. Learn more at drivesafealabama.org. Sponsored by ALDOT, the Alabama Broadcasters Association, and this station.
Are you ready to quit smoking but can't seem to kick the habit? Research shows that smokers are most successful at quitting when they have support. So contact the Alabama Tobacco Quit line at quitnowalabama.com or by calling 1-800-QUIT-NOW. Information, referrals, and coaching are confidential, and you may be eligible to receive up to an 8-week supply of free nicotine replacement patches. To learn more, visit quitnowalabama.com or call 1-800-QUIT-NOW. Quitting might be hard, but it's not impossible.
You love sports. We love sports. Let's be friends. Follow us on Facebook at WKXX Fox Sports 102.9. WKXX Atala, Anniston, Albertville. Your home for Fox Sports. WKXX is live for the fastest 2 hours in sports talk radio. Get ready for Chase Robinson.
He has got to be a player they can rely on in big situations.
And Gerhard Mathangani.
Has the trust of his team. Sounds like the makeup of his team is in a really good space, and I believe that's because of the culture he's curated down there.
For WKXX Live, these guys have you covered from preps to pros and everything in between. Now, let's go inside the Fox Sports 102.9 studio with Chase and Gerhard for WKXX Live.
Welcome in on a Thursday afternoon. It is WKXX Live here on Fox Sports 102.9. Chase Robinson here. Got Gerhard Mathangani along as we get rolling here on a high school football game day Thursday. We've got lots of games happening tonight, trying to beat out the weather coming in tomorrow. And so we've got a lot of high school football to talk about. Welcome in, Gerhard. Day off yesterday, had an afternoon Braves game, but glad to be back today.
For sure. And obviously with Monday being Labor Day, we did that show remote. And then Tuesday, we obviously do our JSU Tuesday. So it feels, and then Wednesday was off. So it kind of feels weird sitting back in these chairs, yes. but it feels good because as you mentioned, lots going on, especially in the world of high school ball. As you mentioned, rain a possibility coming up on Friday. And so, yes, between Tuesday and yesterday, we have a wave of teams. Now, I think the majority of the state, outside of the South, the majority of the state will be playing tomorrow.
And we're going to have some football here in a few hours. Oaks Bluff and Geraldine, again, regularly scheduled for tomorrow night, has been moved to tonight. So we'll have Geraldine at Oaks Bluff tonight. That is a 6:30. We'll come on the air with our countdown to kickoff. And at 7 o'clock, we will kick off Oaks Bluff and Geraldine there in a 3A Region 6 game. Greg Watkins and myself will be along to bring you that one. But some really good games, really good region games across the state. Again, some happening tomorrow night, but we got a lot happening tonight. So we'll give you a rundown of those. But I think it's easier to kind of hit you with the games that are still happening tomorrow night. Mm-hmm. And you still got Jacksonville-Anniston tomorrow night.
Right.
You've got Alexandria at Lincoln tomorrow night and Albertville at Sparkman tomorrow night.
Yeah, there's some games really, really of note. And so I think everybody will have their weather apps out to find out which games are affected by the weather. I think a lot of the move yesterday and what we saw yesterday and Tuesday was not necessarily just the rain. That was a part of it, obviously, for schools that want to avoid the rain. That way you have good gates. There's a lot of homecomings this week. But then secondly was just in case that these games come with storms with them that cause delays. And we've seen that both earlier this year and in previous seasons. And so the teams that are playing tomorrow, a lot are obviously just, rolling the dice. Secondly, it might be a strategic advantage for them to play in the rain. And so we'll find out how it all, shapes out. Obviously, with the technology that we have, we can only guess, where the rain will affect the most. And if those storms do come with lightning and things that will actually pause the game, or if it's just the rain, like we saw yesterday. We saw pockets of rain yesterday. I was caught in an area yesterday where I went to a grocery store, left that store, and literally not a cloud in the sky. Left the store, and it was pouring, and it was done in about 5 minutes. Not a single lightning. So it had me thinking about what we could see in store coming up on Friday.
Yeah, and these are big decisions to make by these principals and school systems to move these games. Mm-hmm. Obviously. Field conditions is a big thing. You don't want to tear up your field, especially this early in the season. You want to be able to get that gate money in, have people come. A lot of people may not come if it's or if they think it's going to rain or know it's going to rain. And then just safety for the players. I mean, some teams I know like to maybe see an advantage of playing in the rain,
right?
Especially a team that runs the ball a lot. Mm-hmm. But then you got to think safety with the players as well, and you don't want to go and have a 3-hour rain delay or a lightning delay.
Right. I think that the adjustments for the delays, it actually, in my opinion, is one of those things where you get to see great coaching on display with teams that really bounce back and play well after delays. And we saw that a little bit in the college game. We've seen that in high school as well, because you don't know when the next time you're going to play. A lot of times that's the case. But in this situation, obviously, a lot of coaches, and it became a domino effect yesterday, thought that those games should be moved. But as you mentioned on the forefront here of your question about some of the impactful games that are still being played tomorrow, and the three that you mentioned, Jacksonville, Anniston, Lincoln, Alexandria, and Albertville, Sparkman, those three games will go a long way to determining those region races. And they're all coming from different perspectives. Both Alexandria and Lincoln are coming off big losses from last week. Yep. Anniston coming off of a nice win over Munford. They're still undefeated against the Jacksonville team coming off a loss to Hanley. Most people think that's a 3-team region race between Hanley, Jacksonville, and Anniston. And Jacksonville can mess things up with a win there, and Anniston can continue forward with a win in their matchup. And then Albertville, Sparkman, Albertville having what they hope is going to be a nice bounce-back season, taking on a good Sparkman team. So I think that we have a lot of good storylines going into this, and it should be fun, obviously tonight, but then tomorrow as well.
Sure. And we'll give you a full rundown of the games coming up later on in the show. Want to hit on a college note. It feels like the last couple of months has just been for college coaches.
Right.
How much money can they get out of their school? And Dabo Swinney up at Clemson got a big deal today there with the Clemson Tigers.
Yeah, he's the latest winner of the how much can you get out of your school, to the tune of $115 million. That's the overall deal of the contract. by total compensation, this is not annually based, but by total compensation, he's now the highest paid coach in college football. It's a deal that runs 10 years, average about this season. It's about $10.5 million. He's a little bit behind Nick Saban still, but his contract runs through the 2031 season. I was going to say 2031 season. Once again, the largest overall in compensation. And it's a huge deal, obviously, and it's a deal where I think that Clemson thinks that they found their guy, and obviously they want to secure him as they move forward with their deal. And for the longest time, it was like Clemson felt like this stepping stone job to the next place. But because he's won 2 championships there, and because he's won 6 ACC championships there, and because the ACC has kind of settled themselves right behind the SEC and the Big Ten as far as, if you're going to have 3 to 4 major conferences, the ACC looks to be a power player there. It looks like Clemson's making hey, let's put our financial eggs in this basket, so to speak. And Dabo's doing the same thing with Clemson as basically their quote unquote Bear Bryant over there as the team as the coach has brought them to glory. But the deal, huge one, obviously. And it says a lot to Dabo. It says a lot what Clemson thinks about Dabo, but it also says a lot when Dabo goes recruiting, hey, I'm here for the long haul.
Yeah, so Dabo Swinney gets a big deal today. It's been a few years though since they've won a championship. Mm-hmm. Their last couple of appearances in either the championship or the playoff has not gone well, and they've kind of, a lot of people have lost interest. I'll put it that way in Clemson. So what's the appeal for Dabo Swinney, you think?
I think the appeal is I think that he thinks he can get this program back on track. I think that in his opinion, they aren't too far removed from when they won that championship with Trevor Lawrence and when they got back to the national championship game when they played Alabama. Yeah, it's been a hard run here by their standards. They've made the playoffs. They made the playoffs just about every year for a long time. The last year was the first year they didn't make it into the postseason, and it starts to feel like a team that's wobbling a little bit. But I think for Clemson, the appeal is, hey, as long as we keep recruiting at a high level, we can still get to where we think we should be. I think they still see themselves more in the light of Alabama, Georgia, and Ohio State, and not as much in the light as maybe where Auburn is right now, a proud program that's fallen off a little bit. A Penn State, a proud program that isn't quite there. I think they still see themselves in the upper echelon of the game, and securing Dabo to me is their way of saying, hey, we will still stick with the guy that at least got us to the prominence and got us to the mountaintop.
Yeah, so Dabo Swinney gets a big deal. We got lots of college football to talk about today. Brad Law from the Auburn Sports Network will join us. Brent Beard will join us, talks about SEC football. Roger Hoover, the Crimson Tide Sports Network, will join us. And then Brian Mitz, the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. So lots to get to today, and I'm sure we'll be talking much more about that to come as well.
Yeah, super excited of today's slate because we'll get a lot of football talk. We'll get a lot of college football talk, and especially answers with Auburn that I'm really excited about, and with Alabama as they obviously head into that big matchup with Texas coming up. One quick thing I wanted to slide in here about Dabo's thing, and I didn't mean to take the steering wheel and then take a hard left turn here. But there was one part of this contract clause that made me laugh out loud. It's I'm going to call it the Alabama clause. It's not called that, but I'll call it the Alabama clause. So according to the term sheet, if Dabo Swinney leaves Clemson to become Alabama's head coach in 2022, which, I mean, obviously this is less than 1% chance.
Yeah.
He would owe Clemson a $9 million buyout. Now, if Dabo Swinney leaves to become the head coach at any other school in 2022, which of course, in my opinion, is still less than a 1% chance, he would owe a $6 million buyout. So Alabama alone is a $3 million more penalty if he leaves for that job than maybe the Texas A&M job or the Florida State job or Cal or US, whoever. It's $3 million extra dollars out of his pocket if he goes to Alabama. I thought that was a really interesting part of his contract clause that to me, obviously he signed off on it, whatever that deal was. I don't know who his agent is or whoever brokered that deal for something that specific. It's just 2022 outlined in the term sheet here. So maybe they thought that the possibility of Alabama coming for Dabo Swinney. The other small thing I wanted to point out was that his buyout is unbelievable. $64 million if they fire him without cause in 2022 or 2023. It goes down to $57 million in 2026, and then the rest of, $60 million in 2025, $57 in 2026. Meaning that, let's just say he loses the rest of the season and all of next season, and they fire him without cause. He didn't do anything to, breach his contract, no violation or anything like that. $64 million sight on scene. He will walk away with 2 championship rings and $64 million for doing nothing. So, I mean, these coaches aren't wired that way, obviously. I don't think he'll be, lazy and whatnot. But I just think these, more so than these contracts, these buyouts to me are insane.
Yes. They sure are. But Dabo's got a big one there in Clemson. We'll see if he can live up to it there as head coach at Clemson. We'll take a break, come back, talk a little NFL on the other side. Stick around here on opening day of the NFL on Fox Sports 102.9.
Being an Army Ranger is a very fast-paced lifestyle. I was clearing a weapons cache in Haditha, Iraq, when the building collapsed on me, burying me alive. I spent 6 months in the hospital and a year of recovery. When I was separated from the military, I just felt like I was useless because I only had this one thing that I was supposed to do, and then that one thing was taken away from me. And then one day, I got a call from Wounded Warrior Project. They asked me to come to a workout, and I decided that I was going to get better, both physically and mentally. Now I'm a warrior leader. I create events and opportunities for other veterans locally. Wounded Warrior Project did a phenomenal job reminding me that my injuries aren't going to define who I am. And because of that, I can do anything that I want.
See how we help warriors combat stigma at woundedwarriorproject.org/combat stigma.
Hi, I'm Danica Patrick. Watching my nieces grow, play, and learn is amazing, but not every child gets to be carefree. 1 in 6 kids in the U.S. are hungry. This breaks my heart, and it's something that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste and gives it to families in need. To help, visit feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
I'll be here to hear what's on your mind.
As an adult, kids want to know you're listening to them, but they also want to listen to you. When it comes to alcohol, they want to know your expectations and how and why to avoid underage drinking. Talking early and often about it in everyday conversations reinforces your message and keeps lines of communication open. For more information, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
I'll be by your side.
Psst, it's me, your bathroom medicine cabinet. I see you naked, know how often you floss, and watch you pluck unsightly hairs. I can keep a secret, but you need to know your kids have been taking your prescriptions to get high. I couldn't keep it quiet because prescription drug abuse now causes more deaths than cocaine and heroin ODs combined. So please, mind your meds. For tips on safeguarding your meds and your family, visit the Partnership for Drug-Free Kids at drugfree.org.
Talking to your kids about the dangers of vaping can be hard. Getting them to listen to hot gossip is easy. So here's some drama you could share with your kid. Dude, did you hear about Cassie and Jake? No, but did you hear that vaping can cause irreversible lung damage and nicotine affects brain development? Nuh-uh. You don't need to gossip if you want to have an open conversation about vaping. So if you want to get tips on when and how to talk to your kids, visit talkaboutvaping.org. Brought to you by the American Lung Association and the Ad Council.
The possibility of lung cancer can be pretty scary, especially if you're one of approximately 8 million current or former smokers at high risk. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know that now there's a breakthrough low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early, and it only takes 60 seconds. You stop smoking, now start screening. For an easy quiz to see if you're eligible, visit SaveByTheScan.org. It could save your life. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
I'm Andrew Saul, Commissioner of Social Security. Beware of telephone scammers pretending to be government employees. Real Social Security employees will never threaten you. Callers threatening you with arrest or other legal action and demanding money are not from us. If you receive a call like this, hang up, Do not provide them with any form of payment or information. Report the call at oig.ssa.gov.
If you're a fan of high school, college, and professional sports, you are in the right place. Fox Sports 102.9.
We are back here on this Thursday afternoon. WKXX Live. You know that sound, NFL on Fox. You'll be hearing that on Sunday as the NFL season gets going tonight. You got the Bills and Rams tonight on NBC. They will get the regular season underway in the NFL. And so, like we've talked about, we got high school going. We got college going, and now we get to see the big boys go.
Yeah, everybody gets a seat on the at the front of the table, so to speak, because obviously last week or last couple of weeks we've seen high school and college get rolling, and now we're kind of in the critical parts of their seasons. A little early for college, obviously, but we have some great games and great matchups coming up over the next few weeks. And then in the NFL, there's so many questions. Every year there's so many questions, and obviously when you have a roster size of 52. There's only certain things that teams can get great at in a salary cap sport, and it's always fun. I think the older I've gotten, the more appreciation I have for the NFL as far as developing a roster, as far as going underneath the salary cap. The way that football has changed overall has changed the way you approach your team.
Yeah.
You have to have a good quarterback these days. You used to be able to win in in college and in the NFL with running game and defense. Just look to Alabama for that. They've changed up their mindset over the last half decade or a little bit over. The NFL has now gone to that as well, and so I really respect. As I've gotten older, I've really respected the NFL game a lot more, basically because you have to go within the margins. Football is razor thin within the margins there. NFL, college football, you obviously recruit your roster. In high school, you're going with the kids within those four walls. In the NFL, you have to structure your rosters a little bit differently. So I love it, and I can't wait for it tonight.
Yeah, it's going to be a good game to get things started off. You got the Super Bowl champ Rams starting the season off. For the Rams going into the 2022 season, where do they stand? What do the Rams look like?
I think they're in good position because they've drafted really well. They have so many players at the top end of the money that they make at their position. For example, Aaron Donald, one of the highest paid defensive tackles, actually one of the highest paid defensive players, period. Jalen Ramsey, the same thing at corner. Matt Stafford, they've restructured his deal. He's getting about, I think, 150 or 160 guaranteed. They just re-signed Cooper Kupp's deal. Obviously you have to because he just put up the best receiving season in the history of the NFL. Matt Stafford brought you a new contract. Our new Super Bowl, and obviously a new contract came with that. Their general manager, Les Snead, I heard today on one of our updates that he was able to get a restructured deal. Of course, he doesn't factor into the salary cap, but they really like what he's been able to do there as well. The thing about the Rams going into this year, though, to me, it's all the stuff kind of outside of the team. Think about from a personnel standpoint, two of the guys that they picked up via trade and free agency are guys that are no longer on the team or possibly no longer on the team. A guy, Von Miller, who went into the season last year, joined the team late last year, had a great run in the playoffs. We saw him ball out at Texas A&M. We saw him ball out with the Denver Broncos. And then he gets to the Rams. A lot of people think he's on his last leg, and he has a great end of the year, great playoff run. He's no longer there. He's now in Buffalo, team that they're playing tonight. Meanwhile, Odell Beckham Jr., he leaves. He comes from the Cleveland Browns. He has an incredible run. He has a great Super Bowl. Looks like he was about to be a Super Bowl MVP. Tears his ACL in the Super Bowl. He can't come back till a little bit after Thanksgiving. No. Matt Stafford, he's missed some time here in training camp with problems with his arm, some arm fatigue there. How healthy will he be game to game? They have some new receivers there in as well. And they also play in a really tough division with San Francisco and Arizona. I know Seattle's dropped off a little bit, but San Fran and Arizona, it's a really tough division just in general. So I think people always talk about repeating. Can they repeat? Can they repeat? We haven't seen a repeat champion since the Patriots in 2003, 2004.
Yeah.
And it's going to be hard for me to see this team repeating, even though they'll be in the mix.
Yeah. It's going to be fun to see them tonight. And, of course, that is the only game tonight. But Sunday, we'll crank up a full day, including a game. I'm excited to watch Saints and Falcons on Sunday there at noon.
Yeah, that's going to be a really interesting game because, the Saints are a team that I think a lot of people can't really get their hands on because obviously you have a new head coach, Sean Payton. You have a new quarterback situation, obviously, with Drew Brees now out of the game for the second straight year. You have Jameis Winston there in at quarterback. We have a situation with this division where it looks like the Bucs are going to be the division leaders going into the season. But I think the Saints have a really, really good team. And the Falcons, it's one of those things to me is that Marcus Mariota can get you so far. They also have Desmond Ridder. Is this a tank season for the Falcons? I think we'll know by week 5 if they're playing for, hey, we can get a top spot in next year's draft and possibly pick up a Bryce Young, possibly pick up CJ Stroud, or if they're trying to gut it out and win 6 to 10 games. And we talked to we talked to some people that keep up with the team, and they think it can be a struggle, but there's still a lot of football to be played.
Yes, you got Saints, Falcons, you got 49ers, Bears on Sunday, you got Steelers, Bengals, Eagles, Lions, you got the Patriots and the Dolphins, Ravens, Jets, Jaguars, Commanders, Browns and the Panthers, got the Colts versus the Texans, Giants versus Titans, Packers, Vikings, Chiefs, Cardinals, Raiders, Chargers, Bucks, Cowboys, and Monday night, interesting game, and Broncos and Seahawks. So Russell Wilson will make a return there to Seattle.
Yeah, that's going to be a really interesting game. There's 2 games to me of note that kind of fall in that same vein, where you have both the game on Monday night with the Seahawks playing in Seattle. And then another situation where it's not at home. He's not going back to Cleveland, but he is playing Cleveland again. That's Baker Mayfield playing at home with the Carolina Panthers, his new team, after the Cleveland Browns, parted ways with him. And I think in his situation is a little bit different because they parted ways for him or with him for Deshaun Watson, who has a whole bunch of legal problems. And we now know his punishment out 12 games. And ironically enough, he'll play the team that he left whenever he gets back on the field, potentially if he keeps his nose clean. So interesting slate this week. Pair of former Alabama quarterbacks going at it as Mac Jones and the Patriots go to Miami to take on Tua Tagovailoa and the Dolphins. Patriots always struggle in Miami early on in the season. Word is Bill Belichick got them down there 5 days in advance, so we'll have an interesting situation there. The Commanders and the Jaguars as well. It's another, I think, really interesting game. And so, we have some division games. We have some games of note, and we'll have some measuring stick games as well, like the one you highlighted with Saints and Falcons.
Yep, and so big NFL weekend ahead on top of all the great college football we have. And, watching games on Fox, you've always had old Big Game Buck, Joe Buck, and Troy Aikman together. Right. Now, I mean, you're going to see them on a Monday Night Football. So some roster changes for the networks as well in the offseason.
Yeah, we keep talking about coaching salaries and whatnot. Well, broadcaster salaries kind of went through the roof as well, and it's honestly it's to be expected given the way that live sports and the way live streaming of sports has really gotten into the mix here. When streaming services got into the sports game, we knew it would change up a lot. We've seen it with Amazon. They're now knee deep, and I don't see the reason why not. Because if you have a streaming platform and you have more money than anything, and Amazon's got more money than anything right now, any entity, they could spray money everywhere right now. And so to get into the sports game, it's the economy that seemingly just keeps going up. We've seen what the stock market's doing up and down. Today's especially solid day for that. But everything else is it's a safe place to put your money. Sports is right now, and so with all these networks getting into the game, we've seen what they're doing in college sports. Seeing what the Big Ten just signed as far as a big time deal. The NFL's following suit. And then you have all these streaming platforms doing the same. Facebook doing Major League Baseball. You also have Apple, and you also have Amazon. So. They obviously need great talent to broadcast those games, and that's what they're getting.
Yeah, and so Thursday Night Football is going to be on Amazon Prime, except for tonight. Tonight's on NBC, but all the other Thursday night games, minus Thanksgiving Day as well, will be on Amazon Prime. So got to get on Prime if you want to watch some Thursday Night Football. I imagine the Prime numbers will go up as we get into the season. We're going to talk some Auburn football coming up next, though. Brad Law of the Auburn Sports Network joins us next.
Hello, friends. This is Ryan Morris, pastor of First Baptist Church of Hokes Bluff. I love the football season. I love cheering my team on to victory. But let me ask you this. Do you have victory in your spiritual life? You can by having a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. If you'd like more information about that, or if you're looking for a church home, check us out at 5052 Main Street, Hokes Bluff. Our website is fbchb.org. First Baptist Church of Hokes Bluff, advancing the gospel of Jesus Christ. God bless you, and go Eagles.
This season, the Hokes Bluff football broadcasts are brought to you in part by Scott Young and S&G Machine, your full-service machine shop specializing in custom metal handrails, iron fencing, fire pits, decorative metal wall hangings, and custom metal gates complete with installation and openers. S&G Machine, with over 14,000 patterns ranging from initials to sports teams to wildlife scenes to make your home a unique reflection of you. S&G Machine, LLC, on Main Street, Hokes Bluff, and on Facebook.
Graceland of Gadsden has almost 100 portable buildings ready for immediate delivery, with more on the way. It's like shopping a portable building supercenter. Buildings so durable, your grandkids will still be enjoying them. Ask about rent to own. 2 easy payments get you free delivery, free setup, free anchoring, then no payments for 3 full months. Alabama's largest selection of portable buildings means no more crosstown trips. Store everything in your own backyard. Highway 278 East Hokes Bluff and Graceland of Gadsden on Facebook. Five days only. Downgrade your payment pain. Upgrade your ride at Twin City Used Cars September Vehicle Exchange and Credit Forgiveness Event. Is your current payment, payoff, or interest rate too high? Time to trade in, trade up, and lower your payment or interest rate at Twin City. Even if you've been late or slow to pay or had a repossession, pay nothing till December, and no money down deals are available. The goal? 100% approval.
The best deals on 4 wheels.
Twin City, Galt Avenue, South Fort Payne, 901 First Avenue, Gadsden.
The City of Hokes Bluff reminds its citizens to stay weather aware. When it rains, it drains. Visit cityofhokesbluff.com/stormwater awareness. Join us September 24th for the Hot Rod Happening Car Show and Hokes Bluff City Fest with free entertainment featuring Lori Morgan. Come out to the G Roundup Tractor Show on October 7th and 8th. Thank you for shopping our local Hokes Bluff businesses. The City of Hokes Bluff proudly supports Hokes Bluff Athletics and band Go Eagles.
Get Lazy Boy savings during the Labor Day sale, happening right now at the furniture shop Lazy Boy Comfort Studios in Albertville and Henniger. They have this area's largest selection of kick-your-feet-up comfortable Lazy Boy furniture. And for a limited time only, get hot buys on genuine Lazy Boy recliners and quality crafted furniture and feel-good comfort that's built to last during the Labor Day sale at the furniture shop Lazy Boy Comfort Studio in Albertville and Henniger.
Being an Army Ranger is a very fast-paced lifestyle. I was clearing a weapons cache in Haditha, Iraq, when the building collapsed on me, burying me alive. I spent 6 months in the hospital and a year of recovery. When I was separated from the military, I just felt like I was useless because I only had this one thing that I was supposed to do, and then that one thing was taken away from me. And then one day, I got a call from Wounded Warrior Project. They asked me to come to a workout, and I decided that I was going to get better, both physically and mentally. Now I'm a warrior leader. I create events and opportunities for other veterans locally. Wounded Warrior Project did a phenomenal job reminding me that my injuries aren't going to define who I am. And because of that, I can do anything that I want.
See how we help warriors combat stigma at woundedwarriorproject.org/combat stigma.
Hey Gadsden, we are your local sports station, Fox Sports 102.9 and 99.7.
We continue. Here it is 2:30 on this Thursday afternoon. Chase Robinson and Gerhard Mathangani alongside with you this afternoon. And we're going to talk some Auburn football now as we welcome on Brad Law of the Auburn Sports Network. Brad, as always, great to have you on.
And it's great to come on. It's good to talk to everybody and talk a little Auburn football today. Hope everybody is doing well.
Well, I know it's got to be exciting to have college football back on the plains. 5 straight home games, so I know that's got to bring a really cool atmosphere to Auburn. Having 5 games at home in a row, but having that home crowd there in Jordan-Hare Stadium.
Yeah, I'm going to try to petition Greg Sankey to let us play all 12 at home next year. I don't think he's going to go for that, but yeah, we love home games. We love 5 of them, 3 of them, 6 of them. Doesn't matter how many of them we get in a row. It's just great, and it's something I mean, you guys know from doing this. Anytime you get a chance to cover one of these fantastic events, you're walking up to the stadium or the arena, the Coliseum, or the field, or whatever it may be, and you're just thankful, and you're thankful every single time, and I pray that's always the case. It has been so far. It's great. It's great that it's back.
Most certainly. Brad Gerhard here. One of the things that was really interesting, obviously, going into the season, the interesting storyline and topic was the situation about the quarterbacks. And you got a chance to see TJ Finley and Robbie Ashford in the game Saturday. I know you've probably, talked about this both privately and professionally for a while, but what was your takeaway Saturday? And then I have another caveat question coming for you a little bit later on.
All right, so 2A and 2B. The first part of it, frankly, and just to be blunt, I was surprised at how fast Robbie is. I didn't know. I didn't have any inside intel on what to expect from a rotation perspective. It wasn't going to surprise me that Robbie got a chance to play, but how quickly he was in, frankly, was interesting to me. He was in on the 4th play of the game. And then the first play of the second drive where he got him off from inside their 10-yard line and had a 49-yard, I think it was, run to completely flip the field. What was surprising to me was his speed. I'd heard interviews that players did throughout the summer where they were asked, who's the fastest guy on the team, and Robbie Ashford was always one of the guys they mentioned. Well, okay, how does that translate on the field with pads and in game situations? And we saw Saturday that it translated really well for Auburn. So it didn't surprise me that he played. It surprised me a little bit just how electric he is, and there's genuine football speed, which lends itself to a really nice complement to the starting quarterback, TJ Finley, that I think Auburn will continue to utilize throughout the season. I mean, obviously, as long as they're both healthy and effective, it wouldn't surprise me if that's the plan the rest of the year.
100%. So the quick follow-up, are you surprised at all that Zach Calzada did not get a snap in the last game? I know he is QB3, but when they got up big on Mercer, the way that the talking points were down there, it felt like the evaluation was going to go through some of the games. But are you surprised he didn't get to play this week? And with Auburn, another big 3-touchdown favorite this upcoming Saturday, do you expect him to play this upcoming week?
That's a good question. I try not to go in with an expectation of guys down the depth chart getting in. You got to take care of the game and respect the opponents, and all of the really great head coaches kind of talk that way. It didn't surprise me Saturday against Mercer because, again, I think Robbie Ashford's role is going to be larger now than just an ancillary package here or there. And so I think that in that scenario, the game was not in the balance. The game was fairly well decided after the weather delay, but it provided an opportunity for him to get those reps that are helpful, those in-game situations, the actual live bullets game reps for down the road. And I think for that reason, so it's not a negative towards Zach Calzada as much as it is TJ Finley is the primary quarterback. Robbie Ashford is a complement. Getting Robbie the game snaps that he needs, because remember, he's not played in a college football game before Saturday. He didn't play in football games at Oregon. So I think that's really beneficial, and I expect that to kind of be the template again, unless, I mean, look, if Auburn just comes out and puts 60-plus on the board and, has a 7 or 8 touchdown lead in the fourth quarter, then maybe you see Calzada in some mop-up duty. But, again, that's not a negative towards Zach in any way. It's just more I think they want to make sure that Robbie Ashford is ready when, for the games as the schedule continues to play out.
Brad Law of the Auburn Sports Network joining us this afternoon. And there's a lot of question marks in some different positions. One of those wide receiver. What did you see from that position on Saturday?
I saw Javarius Johnson step out or step up and stand out. The guy who dipped his toe into and then back out of the transfer portal in the offseason. Really good speed. He's small, but he's able to get some separation, or was against Mercer anyway. And he was also a favorite target of TJ down the stretch last year in the regular season when he was healthy. So, again, not so much a total surprise that he would be targeted, but, the fact that he was targeted, he made the most of the opportunities, had a career high, went over 100 yards. He may not have been the first guy that I would have picked to stand out and step up, but that was my main takeaway from the receiver position. He and Shed Jackson led the way in the number of catches. From all accounts, Shed had a tremendous offseason, added some strength, certainly in his lower body, helps him get a little better separation and some explosion off the line of scrimmage. But I think Javarius Johnson probably is my biggest standout from that position from game one.
For sure. I'll stick with the offense here for this one. From a running back perspective, it looked like Tank Bigsby at the beginning of the offseason. All the talk was he would be utilized more in the offense, and it felt like that came into fruition Saturday. What do you make of both Tank and the whole running back room for Auburn?
Well, when you get 5 touchdowns from your top 2 running backs, it shows that you're going to run the ball. You have an ability to run the ball. Tank, ran inside. He ran outside. Jarquez Hunter's first carry of the game was a touchdown around 20 yards right when they got in the red zone. So he showed that he's back 100% healthy from the injury that took him out of the spring. I love the power complement. Both guys run with a tremendous amount of power, and as games wear on, you can start to lean on teams when you can just line up and bruise them with the running game. Now, can Auburn do that against San Jose State the way they did against Mercer? More importantly, can they do it against Penn State? Even more importantly, can they do it against Missouri and LSU and Georgia and the teams on the back end of the schedule? Those are the things they've got to prove, but for a one-game sample size, yeah, I love particularly the strength that Auburn has out of those top 2 running backs who had 5 touchdowns between them against Mercer.
And I know on the defense side of the ball, we'll learn much more as we get into, games like Penn State, LSU, Missouri. But just from this past Saturday, who are some defensive guys maybe that caught your eye? Maybe you weren't expecting, maybe, some holes on defense. Who are some defensive guys that stepped up?
Yeah, I think a couple of guys stood out defensively. Cam Riley, the linebacker, had 14 tackles all of last year. He had 15 tackles in the game against Mercer. The question was going to be who steps in for Jacoby McClain and Chandler Wooten, a couple of veterans who are hyper-productive. I mean, McClain had over 100 tackles in back-to-back seasons and in 2020 and 21. So who's going to fill in as that weak side linebacker? And Cam Riley is 6'5" and 230 pounds, had 15 tackles. He was all over the field. He had almost 25% of all the tackles for Auburn in the ballgame. So he was number one. And then I thought Nehemiah Pritchett had a really good game. Mercer has an All-American FCS receiver in Ty James. He has set all kind of records in his last 2 games, the last game of last year and then their season opener. Was a guy who was targeted 5 times in week 1, had 5 catches, 3 touchdowns, nearly 200 yards, physical, 6'3". Nehemiah Pritchett, in particular, did a nice job to limit what he was able to do. He was limited to 6 targets and only 3 catches. And Nehemiah had a couple of pass breakups in the game. So Nehemiah was giving away some size, but technique, speed, quickness, recovered well, and I thought played the position really well. And that's a position with Roger McCreary having now moved into an NFL starting cornerback role, who was going to fill that gap. And I thought that was good to see both Cam Riley answer who's going to fill in for Jacoby McClain, and then Nehemiah Pritchett who's going to start the fill-in process for Roger McCreary.
For 100%. I know sometimes to make it a school analogy, it's hard to take quizzes to standardized tests and find out, where you stand. But what do you think that Auburn fans, maybe the Auburn program, needs to see Saturday against San Jose State in order to feel good about their prospects as they play Penn State, and then as you mentioned down the line as they open up SEC play? What are some of the maybe tangible things they need to see? Maybe not just, hey, X score to X score, but some of the tangible things they need to see moving forward.
Yeah, I think it's a really good question and a really savvy question, because you can look at the score and you can arrive there in different ways. I think another clean game, certainly in the first half of the game Saturday, really the only mistake I think Auburn made was the interception late in the half that set up Mercer's touchdown. It was the only time in the first half that Mercer crossed the 50. It's when they started on the plus side after the turnover. So for a game one, you didn't see the false start penalties. I think there was one holding call there. Procedurally, Auburn played a fairly clean game. And I think you want to see that from week 1 to week 2. We talk about the improvement teams make from week 1 to week 2, but occasionally, again, unless there's a giant step up in competition, sometimes you go from, all right, I've waited 9 months to play a game, and I'm hyped up, and I'm super focused, and I'm able to execute cleanly. Now that I have to do a quick turnaround, and I'm in my second game in 8 days, sometimes you lose that focus and the crispness. So I think we need to look for Auburn being crisp and clean from a penalty perspective. And then you'd like to see it's a different scheme on offense. Mercer was able to roll the quarterback and move the pocket on almost every play. It was a game where the defensive line didn't register a lot of tackles because of that. San Jose State was sacked 7 times in their opener against Portland State. So can Auburn get pressure on the quarterback Saturday and maybe force a turnover or 2 in this game, something that they weren't able to do against Mercer? I think if that happens, it shows you some natural growth and progression, both offensively and defensively, going into Penn State next week.
Brad Law of the Auburn Sports Network. You can hear the network on Saturday as Auburn hosts San Jose State Saturday night. And Brad, as always, appreciate you taking time with us, and we'll talk to you again very soon.
It's my pleasure, guys. War Eagle and all the Auburn fans in that area, and we hope to see you here Saturday.
Sounds good. Thanks, Brad.
Thanks, Brad.
Brad Law of the Auburn Sports Network joining us here on WKXX Live. We'll jump to a break and jump back into some NFL football. Hey, we'll give you our division winner predictions coming up next across the National Football League here on WKXX Live.
Gregerson's Cash Saver, home of the guaranteed lowest total food bill this week. Whole or half boneless pork loins, $1.97 a pound. Center cut boneless pork chops, $2.20 a pound. And a great lunch or after school snack, Oscar Mayer uploaded lunchable nachos grande, $1.50. It's true what they say, folks. When Cash Saver came to town, grocery prices came down, and go Eagles.
WKXX 102.9 and People's Independent Bank take time every day to salute our first responders. Thank you for keeping us safe. Each week, WKXX 102.9 will choose a first responder of the week and give them $100. To nominate a first responder unit, go to WKXX.com. People's Independent Bank serves Boaz, Scottsboro, Oaks Bluff, Douglas, Steele, Gurley, Fife, Powell, and Sylvania. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
5 days only. Downgrade your payment pain. Upgrade your ride at Twin City Used Cars September Vehicle Exchange and Credit Forgiveness event. Is your current payment, payoff, or interest rate too high? Time to trade in, trade up, and lower your payment or interest rate at Twin City. Even if you've been late or slow to pay or had a repossession, pay nothing till December, and no money down deals are available. The goal? 100% approval.
The best deals on 4 wheels.
Twin City, Galt Avenue, South Fort Payne, 901 First Avenue, Gadsden.
Healthy living starts with a healthy community. That's why Hoax Bluff Drug Shop, your community Health Mart pharmacy, has invested in our community's health for years. Get the personalized care and attention you deserve to stay healthy and feel good. Come see the Hoax Bluff Drug Shop difference for yourself at 5702 U.S. Highway 278 East, Hoax Bluff. Health Mart, taking the time to listen and care.
Being an Army Ranger is a very fast-paced lifestyle. I was clearing a weapons cache in Haditha, Iraq, when the building collapsed on me, burying me alive. I spent 6 months in the hospital and a year of recovery. When I was separated from the military, I just felt like I was useless because I only had this one thing that I was supposed to do, and then that one thing was taken away from me. And then one day, I got a call from Wounded Warrior Project. They asked me to come to a workout, and I decided that I was going to get better, both physically and mentally. Now I'm a warrior leader. I create events and opportunities for other veterans locally. Wounded Warrior Project did a phenomenal job reminding me that my injuries aren't going to define who I am. And because of that, I can do anything that I want.
See how we help warriors combat stigma at woundedwarriorproject.org/combat stigma.
Coach Nick Saban. Helping children is very important to Miss Terry and me. As parents, it saddens us to know that there are more than 5,000 children in foster care in Alabama. These children need loving, nurturing families to care for them. We ask you to join the team and become champions for children by opening your heart, opening your home, and becoming a foster or adoptive parent.
For more information, call 1-866-4AL-KIDS. Sponsored by the Alabama Department of Human Resources, Alabama Broadcasters Association, and this station. Being in the Army National Guard is about more than serving your country. It's about being there for your community when your neighbors need you most. The Army National Guard makes college affordable, and serving part-time can help you graduate debt-free. Do you want to stay close to friends and family? The Guard allows you to serve close to home. Serving part-time in the Army National Guard lets you have the life you want. Learn more by visiting NationalGuard.com.
Sponsored by the Alabama Army National Guard. Aired by the Alabama Broadcasters Association and this station.
Hey, Fort Payne. We are your local sports station. Fox Sports 102.9 and 99.7.
It is a Thursday afternoon, and we roll on. WKXX Live. Chase Robinson, Gerhard, Mathangani here with you. We got high school football in the air for you tonight. Hoax Bluff and Geraldine, 6:30 for our countdown to kick off. 7 o'clock, we will kick it off in that 3A Region 6 matchup. I got the NFL starting tonight. And lots of NFL on Sunday. We'll have Bills-Rams tonight. But we want to kind of go through each division and pick who we think is going to win the division. So kind of give it. We did some college stuff as we led into the college football season. Thought it'd be cool to and we'll look in late January, early February, and see if we were remotely close to the actual what happens on the field. So we'll go through the AFC and then we'll go through the NFC of who we predict to win each division. Let's start AFC East. Who you got, Gerhard?
All right, in my AFC East, I think this is one of the easier ones to pick as far as the division winner goes. I think it's the Buffalo Bills. Obviously, going into the year, obviously with Josh Allen, they added Von Miller, all the guys they still have from last year. We saw the miracle it took to beat them in the playoffs from Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. So I think it's their turn. Second place, and this hurts my heart, because I'm a Patriots fan, but I got the Miami Dolphins finishing second in that division. I got the Patriots finishing third, and then the Jets fourth.
All right. So I got the Bills winning that one as well. Like you said, and we'll get a chance to see those Bills tonight. But yeah, I think they've easy pick there for the AFC East. What about the AFC West?
In the West, I think this is the hardest region. I'm thinking high school football, the hardest division here in the NFL. I think there's so many storylines around all these teams, so you're kind of wondering which one you want to throw in. Russell Wilson and the Broncos. You have new head coach in Las Vegas with Josh McDaniels there, but I still believe in Kansas City. I still believe in Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, and the guys. I got the Chiefs in first place, followed by the Raiders. I got the Broncos actually third in the tightest race, and the Chargers fourth. I think this will be the tightest race, and I won't be a bit surprised if all four teams make the playoffs.
I'm predicting the Chargers to win the West.
I really don't hate it. I mean, as far as Vegas goes, their win totals are all right there neck and neck. They're all within a game or two of each other. So won't be a bit surprised to see that play out.
Yeah, I think that'll be a fun division to watch through the year. AFC North, who you got?
I'm actually going to go not with the team that made it to the Super Bowl last year. I think a lot of things really fell in Cincinnati's favor going into the year. And a lot of things broke the wrong way for the Baltimore Ravens. Lots of players got hurt, spring training, training camp, and then in the preseason. They're all back this year. I think you have a hungry Lamar Jackson. I don't know if he gets his deal done. If he doesn't get his deal done, he's hungry. He wants to put up a good season. I got the Baltimore Ravens in at first place, followed by the Bengals in at second, and then the Steelers and Browns.
I've actually got the Ravens winning the AFC North as well. So we got that one the same also. AFC South, who you got?
In the AFC South, I really think that this is another tight one, not necessarily because of supremacy in the NFL, but just in general. I do like the Titans again this year, barely because I love the Jaguars. I think they're going to take a big step up. I think that Trevor Lawrence is going to have a sensational year. I have them second, followed by the Colts, who I think will be improved as well at number 3. And Houston, that dumpster fire is going to be 4.
Yeah. I've got the Titans actually winning the AFC South as well. I like them a lot. They've got a lot of talent. I think they're going to do well this year. So I've got them winning the AFC South. Let's move over to the NFC now. We'll go in that same pattern in the NFC East. And who you got there?
I really like what the Cowboys have done, but I can't go with them. I think that they are inflated every year. It's that stock that you're paying $10 more per share than you should, and you buy into the hype all year long. I just don't buy it with Dallas. I think they finished second to the Philadelphia Eagles. They added some weapons around Jalen Hurts. They made the playoffs last year. I think they take the next step this year. I got the Eagles in first place, followed by the Cowboys at second.
Yeah, we did not compare lists here, but I as well have the Eagles winning the NFC East. NFC West, who you got winning?
Even though I think that the Rams will pull back a little bit this year, I don't think it's enough to lose this division. I think that they'll still win the division. I really like the Cardinals. They finally secured Kyler Murray. They secured his contract. I think he'll have a really steady mind moving forward. The wild card in this entire division is Trey Lance. He can come in and blow us all away and look amazing, and I won't be surprised if they have 13 wins and they're the number 1 seed. But I just can't go with it as of yet. I think the Seahawks are terrible. I think they're tanking. They're ready for a new guy. I'm going to go with the Rams, the defending champions, to come back and win it again.
Yeah, I've got the Rams written down too to win the NFC West. We'll see if they can do it again. We'll see. NFC North, who you got?
I really like the Vikings, and I think the Lions are going to be better. But I just can't put either Kirk Cousins or the ankle biter in the coach with the Detroit Lions ahead of Aaron Rodgers. I still have Aaron Rodgers in the Green Bay Packers number 1 in that area. I do think that all the teams though will be a little bit better than last year.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I as well have the Packers winning the NFC North. NFC South, I'm going to give mine first, so it won't look like I'm copying you.
Yeah,
I've got the Bucks winning the NFC South.
Yeah, I think the Saints will be improved, but in the same situation as the North. Even though you have the improved teams, which makes it harder to win, I don't think that there's enough to beat what surrounds the GOAT in Tampa. And so I got the Bucks also number 1 as well. So I think we're about all the same outside of the West. You have the Chargers, and ironically, that's where I have the Chargers dead last. So I have them last. You have them first. I think that these division races will get really, really tight though, and it'll be a fun year in the National Football League.
It sure will, and it all gets going tonight, and of course, full slate of games coming up on Sunday. We've got a lot of college football to get to coming up in hour number 2. Brent Beard, SEC football analyst with First Coast News down in Jacksonville, Florida. Also hosts the Second Helping SEC football podcast. He joins us next here on WKXX Live to start hour number 2.
Hello, Eagle fans. I am Pastor Eddie Gooch, and all of us here at Hokes Bluff First United Methodist Church are so thankful to God for the gift He has given to us in our Hokes Bluff Eagles. But God's greatest gift to us is His Son Jesus, as we read in Ephesians 2:8-9. For by grace you have been saved through faith, and that not of yourselves. It is the gift of God, not of works, lest anyone should boast. God has a gift for you, and this gift is named Jesus. God bless, and go Eagles.
You know who WKXX calls for all their HVAC needs? All American HVAC Services. Hey, it's Chase from WKXX Live. The heat in our studio went out, and guess who he called? All-American HVAC Services. They're family-owned, veteran-operated, and they take pride in their quality of work. And they're going to keep you informed through the whole process. They're going to work on units of all makes and models. So for all of your heating and air needs, give All-American HVAC Services a call at 256-393-0104 for a free estimate.
Opening this week at Premier Cinema 16 from the producers of It, The Grudge, and The Ring comes their latest masterpiece of suspense, Barbarian. Early bird shows this Saturday on select features at Premier Cinema 16 in the Gadsden Mall.
Ready to take the next move in your career? Huhtamaki, makers of Chinet, offers opportunities to grow with experience, challenging assignments, and continuous learning. Currently hiring for multiple pressware operators with starting pay at $18.66 per hour and a 62-cent differential for all hours worked. Also hiring an experienced engineering and maintenance manager. These opportunities offer a full benefits package with medical, dental, and vision insurance, 401k with company match, pension plan, along with many other benefits. Apply today at us.huhtamaki.com. An equal opportunity employer.
Being an Army Ranger is a very fast-paced lifestyle. I was clearing a weapons cache in Haditha, Iraq, when the building collapsed on me, burying me alive. I spent 6 months in the hospital and a year of recovery. When I was separated from the military, I just felt like I was useless because I only had this one thing that I was supposed to do, and then that one thing was taken away from me. And then one day, I got a call from Wounded Warrior Project. They asked me to come to a workout, and I decided that I was going to get better, both physically and mentally. Now I'm a warrior leader. I create events and opportunities for other veterans locally. Wounded Warrior Project did a phenomenal job reminding me that my injuries aren't going to define who I am. And because of that, I can do anything that I want.
See how we help warriors combat stigma at woundedwarriorproject.org/combat stigma.
What we do is who we are. Whether you're a nurse, a carpenter, a truck driver, or a salesperson, our work defines us. And when we can do what we love and help others at the same time, that's when you know you found a rewarding career. The Alabama Department of Labor is committed to helping you get there with on-the-job training, work-based learning, apprenticeships, and more. So when you're ready to begin your next career, ask yourself, who do you want to be? Sponsored by the ADOL, ACRI, ABA, and this station.
Home protection means feeling safe and secure. That's why the Alabama Electronic Security Board of Licensure created a special website where you can check to see if your home security company is licensed in our state. Check before you hire a new provider, and if they come door to door, never feel pressured. Check their license for your security at licensedsecurity.org. This message brought to you by the Alabama Electronic Security Board of Licensure and the Alabama Broadcasters Association.
Right now, it's a great time for anybody ready to get some real work done in Alabama. Whether you're somebody who needs to hire, somebody who wants to get hired, or a student who wants to know how to prepare to get hired, there's a new unified force for your success and a brighter future. It's time to get to work, Alabama. Alabama works.
Sponsored by Alabama Works, the ABA, and this station. Visit alabamaworks.com.
Steven.
Who said that?
Me, down here.
Ugh, what are you, a yellow booger?
I'm a banana slug, Steven.
What are you doing in my room?
I'm your sense of adventure. It's been a long time since we've had an adventure in the forest.
Mom took me to the forest last year.
I'm a slug, Steven. It took me a long time to get here.
You're right. I should get out.
Yeah, the forest is not that far away.
Hey, Mom!
Come to the forest where the more adventurous you lives. Check out discovertheforest.org for cool places nearby. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
WKXX, Atala, Anniston, Albertville. Your home for Fox Sports. WKXX is live for the fastest 2 hours in sports talk radio. Get ready for Chase Robinson.
He has got to be a player they can rely on in big situations.
and Gerhard Mathangani.
Has the trust of his team. Sounds like the makeup of his team is in a really good space, and I believe that's because of the culture he's curated down there.
For WKXX Live, these guys have you covered from preps to pros and everything in between. Now, let's go inside the Fox Sports 102.9 studio with Chase and Gerhard for WKXX Live.
Hour number 2 on this Thursday afternoon. We welcome you in. Chase Robinson and Gerhard Mathangani. As we get this 3 o'clock hour rolling, we welcome on our friend Brent Beard. He is the college football analyst there at First Coast News down in Jacksonville, Florida, host of the Second Helping podcast. Brent, as always, appreciate your time. Thanks for coming on.
Well, I'm excited about this weekend, guys. It is, frankly, a better weekend in the SEC than last weekend was, and it also sets up some other interesting games that we'll be playing next week. So just excited that the season is here and we're up and going.
Absolutely, and I want to start with a game that happened last Saturday night. I know you were down in Gainesville, Florida, as Utah came to the Swamp to take on the Florida Gators. What a game and what a start for Billy Napier's era down in Gainesville.
Unbelievable, frankly, being in the press box and hearing that crowd when they get excited at Florida is amazing. Napier really living up to what we thought he might be, being a Nick Saban mentor and a Dabo Swinney mentor, that their strong points or their running game and their offensive line, and also particularly the legs of Anthony Richardson, that they were able to rely on them in order to win this game. And again, Utah is a legitimate top 10 team that showed here. Napier's now won 12 consecutive one-score games as a head coach. I mean, that's amazing to think about that. And they will have another humongous game coming up Saturday night with Kentucky coming in, divisional SEC implications. We don't know if Chris Rodriguez of Kentucky is going to play. That it would be humongous if he doesn't. But I can tell you this, guys, even the most optimistic Gator fan really did not think this team could possibly be 2-0 to start the season, but it might just happen.
For sure. Brent, Gerhard here. One of the things in the Florida-Utah game that really stuck out to me is the relationship that Billy Napier has with his quarterback and Richardson, and Napier talked about it, in the press conferences leading up to the game about how important it was to keep that line of communication open. It seems to me, if nothing else, that those two can lead this program into a really good space really early on here.
We wondered what we would get out of Richardson, and if he's lightning in a bottle, like he possibly could be now, not going to compare him to Cam Newton at this point or anything like that, but that was indicative, guy. And again, in fairness, Richardson was hurt a decent amount last year too, but my goodness, to play Emory Jones over Richardson now just really makes you wonder what in the world was Dan Mullen thinking, as a lot of people had to ask about Dan Mullen on a weekly basis. But the reality is, yes, if they can work on the passing game and get that taken care of and improved, they've really got, I would say, probably average receivers. They've got better running backs than receivers, but then Ricky Pearsall, who comes from Arizona State, is a guy that is helping them. But Richardson's the straw that stirs the drink right now, and frankly, he's doing it better with his legs and his arm.
We're talking with Brent Beard, talking some SEC football. You mentioned Florida's got Kentucky this week, then South Florida, and then they go to Neyland Stadium in Knoxville to take on Tennessee. And this is a really tough schedule for Florida, and 3 tough games coming up, even after playing a tough one there in Utah.
Well, the Kentucky game is a game that we've looked at for even at the beginning of the year, thinking that they would probably lose to Utah, still needing to beat Kentucky. Now, Will Levis is still one of the better quarterbacks in the league, 21 of 32 for 303 last week. Borsi Smoke looks like he's going to be the main running back because Ramon Jefferson, a guy that they really like, particularly in the scrimmages, tore his ACL. And what a shame that was. Tavian Robinson at wide receiver is transferred from Virginia Tech and 136 yards. And also Barry and Brown, a freshman, had a 100-yard kickoff return for Kentucky. Also, one thing to keep in mind for Mark Stoops and what he has done, and this will certainly raise the eyebrows of your listening audience, is Mark Stoops is now, with that win over Miami of Ohio, tied Paul Bear Bryant for the most wins in Kentucky school history with 60.
Wow.
People forget that Coach Bryant was at Kentucky too, and that old story you remember, guys, where they gave Adolph Rupp a Cadillac, and Coach Bryant basically a gold watch for what he did, and that pretty well started Coach Bryant heading for schools that appreciated him more. But yes, this is it is a tough schedule. But listen, guys, if the sky's the limit, if Florida can run through Kentucky and then win next week with South Florida, and particularly win on the road at Tennessee, that if they win tomorrow, that is going to set, and Tennessee beats Pitt, that's going to set up quite a game in Knoxville at the end of the month.
Yeah, Brett, you touched on one of the games that I wanted to ask you about was that Tennessee-Pitt game. You mentioned that, and I agree with you. I think this week offers a lot better of a slate in the SEC than last. But that Tennessee-Pitt game, a top 25 matchup, Pitt obviously beating West Virginia last week. What are some of the things you're looking for as the Volunteers make that trip over to Pitt? The biggest situation for Tennessee is going to be the Tennessee offensive line. Can they protect Hendon Hooker against the Pittsburgh defensive line? Pitt's D-line is second only to Clemson in the ACC, so that's something to keep in mind. We mentioned Hendon Hooker, 18 to 25, 221 last week in the win over Ball State. Cedric Tillman was really good. Also, then this again is the Johnny Majors Bowl. Tennessee and Pitt, former Johnny Majors coaching at both schools. People don't realize, they need to Google sometime if they haven't, how good an athlete that Majors was in a lot of ways. But my concern for Tennessee is even in the Ball State game, they had 0 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, and 7 hurries. Now, again, even Alabama was in a situation like this where they had very few sacks. Some of these teams are getting rid of the ball so quickly, it's hard to get a sack in and having to wait on that. But, again, not only the Pitt defense, but Kendon Slovis throwing for 300 yards plus against West Virginia. That's something to watch. So this is a real opportunity for Tennessee to beat a ranked team early on and to just kind of see where they can go. But so quite a challenge, and I think it's going to be the main deal here is what the Tennessee defense do.
I got to ask you about LSU. Heartbreaking loss for the Tigers Sunday night as the extra point was blocked. there, and Florida State went on to win the game. Where do you see LSU under Brian Kelly in his first year? Where do you see them at right now?
They'll get better. The first game was atrocious, wasn't it? On so many levels for them. And again, now Florida State is 2 hours away from us, so we cover them pretty closely. That was an absolute incredible win for them to beat LSU. And look, even with all the kicking game woes, it looked like they had not even practiced special teams as that game went along. Field goal block, PAT blocked at the end of the game, 2 muff punts. Jaden Daniels was okay. I give him credit. Now, he's still staying the number one. First quarterback in LSU history to pass for 200 and run for 100 in a game decided in regulation. Brian Kelly said this week LSU missed 16 tackles on Jordan Travis. The FSU quarterback, that's a lot. Really devastating blow for LSU that Mason Smith got hurt, the defensive tackle, basically celebrating a play. It is the reality of it. Now, this is something to me that's kind of amusing. LSU plays Southern this week, the Southern Jaguars. Southern last week beat a team called Florida Memorial University that's in Miami, 86-0. So I don't care if you're talking and playing against the kids in the backyard in the neighborhood. 86-0 is rather impressive, to say the least. Now they'll wish they had some of those points Saturday night against LSU, but look, guys. I picked LSU to finish second to Alabama. I really thought, and they still think, they've got players. Now, Keishon Booty, the wide receiver, was out to lunch mentally and psychologically most of that game, so that was a real problem. So it'd be interesting to see, do they stay with Jay Daniels, which they will for right now. That will be interesting to say the least. But all in all, I guarantee you, by the time Alabama and Auburn play LSU, you'll find a different team then.
For sure, we'll be very interested to see what happens with the LSU Tigers. Brent Beard, he covers college football there for First Coast News, Jacksonville, Florida. Also, co-host of the Second Helping podcast, SEC football podcast there, and among many other things. Brent, as always, really appreciate your time talking with us. We'll have to do it again real soon.
And guys, I can tell you, if Bama plays a clean game Saturday at noon, that game could be over at halftime.
I agree.
I certainly agree with you. Thanks so much, Brent.
Take care, guys.
Thank you. Brent Beard joining us, talking some SEC football. We're going to talk some Alabama football coming up next. Roger Hoover, the Crimson Tide Sports Network, on the other side.
Being an Army Ranger is a very fast-paced lifestyle. I was clearing a weapons cache in Haditha, Iraq, when the building collapsed on me, burying me alive. I spent 6 months in the hospital and a year of recovery. When I was separated from the military, I just felt like I was useless because I only had this one thing that I was supposed to do, and then that one thing was taken away from me. And then one day, I got a call from Wounded Warrior Project. They asked me to come to a workout, and I decided that I was going to get better, both physically and mentally. Now I'm a warrior leader. I create events and opportunities for other veterans locally. Wounded Warrior Project did a phenomenal job reminding me that my injuries aren't going to define who I am. And because of that, I can do anything that I want.
See how we help warriors combat stigma at woundedwarriorproject.org/combat stigma.
The Department of Labor can help workers and employers with unemployment claims related to COVID-19. File claims and get more information at labor.alabama.gov. This message is sponsored by the Alabama Department of Labor, the Alabama Broadcasters Association, and this station, with funding provided by the U.S. Department of Labor, Employment and Training Administration, and the Federal Workforce Opportunity Innovation Act. An equal opportunity employer program, auxiliary aids and services available upon request to individuals with disabilities.
Not completing high school is more of a social thing than it was an academic thing. Even though all these years have passed, I still had that longing to have my diploma.
At age 30, Carissa finished her high school diploma.
If you're even considering getting your high school diploma, you can do it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Fox Sports 102.9 is your high school football authority. Friday afternoons at 5:30. Join Jeff Allen for game night to preview the night's action. At 6:30, you will hear Hoax Bluff Eagle football with Chase Robinson and Greg Watkins. Following the game, stick around for the #1 high school football scoreboard show in the state with Jeff Allen and Phil Harris until midnight. And on Monday nights, tune in for the Monday Night Quarterback Show for a recap of the Friday night action and a preview of that week's games. Fox Sports 102.9 is your #1 source for high school football. Hey, Southside, we are your local sports station. Fox Sports 102.9 and 99.7.
We're back here on WKXX Live, Fox Sports 102.9. Chase Robinson and Gerhard Mathangani along with you here on this Thursday. Getting ready for Alabama, Texas coming up on Saturday. Should be a fantastic afternoon there in Austin, Texas. And to talk about that, we bring on Roger Hoover, the Crimson Tide Sports Network. He was working the sideline on Saturday. He'll be in the host chair for the network on Saturday. Saw several Roger Hoover sightings on SEC Network Saturday night. Roger, how are you today?
Well, I hope I didn't break your TV, but I'm doing really well. Yeah, it was fun to get to talk to Coach Saban at halftime.
Yeah, and it's great to have you on, and great to hear you. And I know you were in a good situation. Alabama was up to be able to talk to Coach there at halftime. No frustrated Nick Saban?
He was frustrated about a few things that were going on in the game, but that's what you expect. I mean, the score was 41-0 at that point. The last thing he's going to do at halftime of the first game of the year is say, no, we're a complete football team. No, he always kind of takes a look at what the team isn't doing as well, but he was very complimentary as well of the effort of this Tide team because really from the opening kick of that game, they took care of business against Utah State in a way that I think all of us were hoping to see on Saturday, but rarely does it all come together in the first game like it did this past Saturday night.
For sure. You now make the trip over to Austin, Texas. Before we get into the details of the game, what are some of the things that you're excited about just being there in Austin and facing off against the great brand like the Longhorns have?
Well, it's just so rare that these schools get to play each other, and that's obviously going to change with Texas coming to the SEC in the next few years. But you have to go back to 1922 for the last time that Alabama played Texas in Austin, and that was 2 years before this stadium was even built. So it's just rare that you get a matchup like this. Two very proud football programs, and a little bit of history as well with Greg McElroy helping lead the Crimson Tide to that victory over Texas in the 2009 National Championship game. So Texas fans are still fired up about that. You have really every storyline imaginable for this game. Steve Sarkisian, now the head coach of Texas, after a great run as Alabama's offensive coordinator. You've had some players go with Coach Sark and a lot of assistants and staff members go from Alabama to be on Coach Sarkisian's staff there in Texas. So, I'm excited about all of that, and then just getting to be in downtown Austin for a football weekend, I think everybody's excited for. I was actually just there with the Crimson Tide baseball team at the end of February. It was our second weekend of the year, and Texas ended up sweeping Alabama, but we saw the great fan support there. Now we just can't wait for it to be much, much warmer. I think it's going to be about 70 degrees warmer for the football game versus the last baseball game that these two schools played against each other back at the end of February earlier this year.
Yeah, I can imagine it will be. We're talking with Roger Hoover, the Crimson Tide Sports Network. Great performance offensively from Alabama last Saturday night, again putting up 55 points. But the defense able to pitch a shutout against Utah State. And I know it's Utah State, but I think it says a lot about, these guys on defense, even the guys that came in later on in the second half and later in the game from keeping Utah State off the board.
I think it really does, too. I think Alabama set the tone very early in that game. Utah State was able to pick up, I believe, 23 yards in the first play, but then that was their most explosive play of the night, and it happened on the very first play of the game, and for Alabama's defense, first play of the season. But they really locked in after that. Billy Anderson, of course, looked good coming off the edge, along with Dallas. Their edge, Alabama's secondary, I think, performed really up to expectations, maybe exceeded expectations just a little bit, because it's a very complex defense to learn, especially when you play in the secondary. And I was very encouraged by the fact that Eli Ricks was able to come in, even though he wasn't a starter, he comes in a little bit later in the game and performed extremely well at that cornerback position. And I think he's going to play a lot coming up on Saturday against Texas, a team that he played well against a couple years ago when he played for LSU. So this is a defense that I think continues to take shape, and there are just so many knowns on this defense versus unknowns, which is a little bit different from what we had a year ago.
For sure. Roger, one of the positions of interest going into the season, really going into fall camp, and after last year was the wide receivers, and we saw how it all unfolded with Trayshawn Holden, Kobe Prentiss, and Jermaine Burton, all with 5 touchdowns and I think 5 catches and 4 touchdowns combined between those 3 players. What did you make of that position, and what do you expect as they continue to move on through the rest of the regular season?
I thought they looked really solid, and I thought they helped Bryce out a lot because they were always in the perfect spot. There were a few times where Bryce had to throw into some tight windows, but for the most part, they were getting separation from their defenders from Utah State. So I thought that was a very encouraging sign. And, how about Kobe Prentiss? He was a name that nobody was really talking about going into fall camp as a really highly touted freshman from Calera, but he comes in and is able to win a job, in part due to the JoJo Earl injury, but, he's going to continue being on that field even when JoJo is healthy coming up in October. He played at a very high level, and Bryce was able to give him the football a lot early. Trayshawn Holden is just very, very physical. He is a very tall and strong wide receiver, and you just have the feeling that there aren't going to be many defensive backs, whether they're in non-conference play or in the SEC, that can slow him down and really get him to the turf. He's that strong. So I loved what I saw from those guys, and then Jermaine Burton could be the go-to guy in the red zone, like we saw on a couple of quick strikes to him, including for Alabama's first touchdown of the year. Now what's going to be interesting for me is we have Cameron Latu coming back this week from the minor knee injury he suffered early in camp. How involved does he get in the passing game? Because I believe he had 8 touchdown catches a year ago. He was another favorite target of Bryce, especially in the red zone. So I think we're going to really see Alabama's passing attack on full display coming up this week, now that you have Latu back and healthy and ready to contribute for the Crimson Tide.
Roger Hoover, the Crimson Tide Sports Network, joining us. And a lot of talk about Jahmyr Gibbs heading into the season, transfer from Georgia Tech there in the running back room. What were your thoughts on the running game for Alabama, and is that something they're going to be able to capitalize on Saturday against Texas, you think?
I think so. I think the game plan for Utah State was a little more pass-heavy than we saw run, even though in the final totals we had the same amount of rushing and passing yards, essentially, for the ball game Alabama did when you combine everything Jalen Milroe and company did later in the ball game after Bryce and the first-string unit went out. But Jahmyr Gibbs showed that he had that burst of speed we're all really excited to see on a down-in, down-out basis. And then Chase McClellan looks great coming back from his injury. I think Alabama's offense changed in a big way last year once he left with injury. I don't think this Crimson Tide offense was the same ever again the rest of the season. So having him back, I think, speaks volumes, along with Roydell Williams. And both of them at a great burst of speed, both as well like to catch screen passes from Bryce Young. We saw a lot of that on Saturday. So I think that position's in really good shape, and I think when it is their time to really take over a game and lead a 6-7 minute drive to really break the opponent's back in the fourth quarter, I think they're going to be able to step up to that task. But this offense is just very multiple. There are so many ways they can beat you, and I think running the football is another key way for this group to continue moving forward this year.
You mentioned Texas. You also mentioned Steve Sarkisian, some of the players that left Tuscaloosa for Austin. What are some of the main things you're looking for Saturday from an Alabama standpoint to stop what Texas does, and how do you expect Sark to attack Nick Saban's defense?
Well, I'll start with Sark attacking Coach Saban's defense. I think he knows that Quinn Ewers, the quarterback at Texas, has to get rid of the football very quickly. Because if you look at Texas's offensive line, 3 of the 5 starters are freshmen that will be playing in their second game ever. If you look at the two deep of Texas's offensive line, there are about 7 freshmen that make up those 10 offensive linemen on the two deep. So they are going to be in for quite a wake-up call when they take on the Crimson Tide on Saturday, and quite a welcome to college football type moment for those guys. So if they're able to get some protection for Ewers, he'll be able to do his thing. And he is a very good quarterback. But if he is rushed, I think it's going to be very, very hard for Coach Sarkisian's offense to really click the way that he wants to. So I think it's going to be paramount for Texas to get rid of the football quickly, be able to pass very quickly. So you're going to be looking at a lot of screens, a lot of slants, a lot of things that in short yardage, maybe as opposed to some of those deep threats that we got really used to seeing in a Sarkisian offense when he led the Tide in 2019 with Tagovailoa at quarterback, and in 2020, of course, with Mac Jones at quarterback in a national championship season. So I think it's really going to be fascinating to see, can Texas really get rid of the football? And for the Crimson Tide, I think this defense really wants to grab the headlines on Saturday. They know the offense took a lot of headlines. Yes, they had the shutout this past week, but I think this defense takes so much pride in limiting what the opponent can do, and I think if they're able to put together a game where they only allow, say, 1 touchdown or maybe a field goal or get their second shutout of the year, I think the whole nation will be talking about Alabama's defense, and that speaks volumes considering all the firepower we see on the offensive side of the ball.
Here's Roger Hoover, the Crimson Tide Sports Network. You can hear them on the call. I guess it'll be an early morning for you guys this Saturday. 8 a.m. Pregame show?
Yeah, 8 a.m. we will go on the air across the network, so I'll probably be settling into the booth around 7:15. Our engineer, Tom Stipe, will probably be there at 5:45, or finding a way to get in at midnight and just stay. It's going to be a long day inside BKR Texas Memorial Stadium, but we're really looking forward to it. Again, this is what makes college football special. And, even though Texas will be joining the SEC soon, we will get this matchup a little more often. Just the fact that we get these two iconic teams together early in the season as Alabama looks to have a really special season, it's just going to be a unique environment, and I think we all can't wait to be out there.
For sure. Roger, appreciate your time as always. We'll do it again real soon.
That sounds great, Chase. Thank you guys for having me on.
Thank you.
Thanks, Roger.
Roger Hoover, the Crimson Tide Sports Network here on WKXX Live. Brian Mitz, Etowah County FCA, is going to join us next. Stick around.
The City of Oaks Bluff reminds its citizens to stay weather aware. When it rains, it drains. Visit cityofhoaxbluff.com/stormwater awareness. Join us September 24th for the Hot Rod Happening Car Show and Oaks Bluff City Fest with free entertainment featuring Lori Morgan. Come out to the G Roundup Tractor Show on October 7th and 8th. Thank you for shopping our local Oaks Bluff businesses. The City of Oaks Bluff proudly supports Oaks Bluff Athletics and band Go Eagles.
Opening this week at Premier Cinema 16. From the producers of It, The Grudge, and The Ring comes their latest masterpiece of suspense, Barbarian. Early bird shows this Saturday on select features at Premier Cinema 16 in the Gadsden Mall.
Ready to take the next move in your career? Huhtamaki, makers of Chinet, offers opportunities to grow with experience, challenging assignments, and continuous learning. Currently hiring for multiple pressware operators with starting pay at $18.66 per hour and a 62-cent differential for all hours worked. Also hiring an experienced engineering and maintenance manager. These opportunities offer a full benefits package with medical, dental, and vision insurance, 401k with company match, pension plan, along with many other benefits. Apply today at us.huhtamaki.com. An equal opportunity employer.
Gregerson's Cash Saver, home of the guaranteed lowest total food bill this week, whole or half. Boneless pork loins, $1.97 a pound. Center cut boneless pork chops, $2.20 a pound. And a great lunch or after school snack, Oscar Mayer uploaded Lunchable Nachos Grande, $1.50. It's true what they say, folks. When Cash Saver came to town, grocery prices came down, and go Eagles.
Graceland of Gadsden has almost 100 portable buildings ready for immediate delivery, with more on the way. It's like shopping a portable building supercenter. Buildings so durable, your grandkids will still be enjoying them. Ask about rent to own. 2 easy payments get you free delivery, free setup, free anchoring, then no payments for 3 full months. Alabama's largest selection of portable buildings means no more crosstown trips. Store everything in your own backyard. Highway 278 East, Oaks Bluff, and Graceland of Gadsden on Facebook.
This season, the Hoax Bluff football broadcasts are brought to you in part by Scott Young and S&G Machine, your full-service machine shop specializing in custom metal handrails, iron fencing, fire pits, decorative metal wall hangings, and custom metal gates complete with installation and openers. S&G Machine, with over 14,000 patterns ranging from initials to sports teams to wildlife scenes to make your home a unique reflection of you. S&G Machine LLC, on Main Street, Hoax Bluff, and on Facebook.
Being an Army Ranger is a very fast-paced lifestyle. I was clearing a weapons cache in Haditha, Iraq, when the building collapsed on me, burying me alive. I spent 6 months in the hospital and a year of recovery. When I was separated from the military, I just felt like I was useless because I only had this one thing that I was supposed to do, and then that one thing was taken away from me. And then one day, I got a call from Wounded Warrior Project. They asked me to come to a workout, and I decided that I was going to get better, both physically and mentally. Now I'm a warrior leader. I create events and opportunities for other veterans locally. Wounded Warrior Project did a phenomenal job reminding me that my injuries aren't going to define who I am. And because of that, I can do anything that I want.
See how we help warriors combat stigma at woundedwarriorproject.org/combat stigma.
Hey, Jacksonville, we are your local sports station. Fox Sports 102.9 and 99.7.
We are back here on this Thursday afternoon on a football Thursday. Lots of high school football happening tonight, trying to avoid the weather. And so we'll have some Hoax Bluff football coming up for you in just a little while. Chase Robinson, Gerhard Mathangani here with you this afternoon. And we're joined on the phone right now by our friend Brian Mintz of the Etowah County Fellowship of Christian Athletes. How are you, Brian?
I am wonderful. Been a very, very busy week.
Yeah, and I know Huddle's starting back. You got football season rolling, volleyball rolling, cross country rolling in high school. As I'm sure it has been very busy. How's things with FCA?
It's been, like I said, it's been very busy. Today alone, I have been to 3 different types of huddles, and I think we've had like 4 or 5 that met today, and I was able to make 2 or 3 of them. But anyway, and then I share every week on Thursdays with Glencoe's football team, so I just left there when you called. And so the change of schedule really made the week become very, very busy, very, very quick. So probably won't have it quite as much tomorrow, but man, the last 2 days have been hectic. And hey, that's the way I like it, is to get a chance to just move around and get to share with kids and coaches, and man, it makes for a great time.
Absolutely. Brian, what were some of the things that you've noticed in your first few huddles this part of the year? Obviously, with different teams, you have different schools undergoing, different changes and whatnot. What are some of the things from the kids' perspective are you seeing with these huddles as they, kind of sink into their normal routines in a school year?
Well, I think I'm seeing, a greater interest, more kids getting involved, a lot of what I hope will be growth that will continue. But, we've had, as the huddles have begun here the first couple of weeks of school, I've seen those increase dramatically. And probably one of the biggest of those has been one of the middle schools, Rainbow Middle School. I'm going to say we had probably close to 90 kids yesterday morning, which up until, this year we were probably having 30 to 40 on a great day. And but I mean, the last 2 weeks have just been phenomenal. And a lot of that has to do with leadership of students, the right students getting involved. And, I kind of worry about that sometimes, is because when I started with FCA, I'm used to seeing the problems of when the quarterback graduates and, having another one step in and that kind of thing, or the right tackle or whatever the case is. But, that's one of the things in FCA I didn't foresee is those kids still graduate, and they're the leaders of our huddle, and so very similarly, I've learned that we've got to develop leaders at young ages to be able to step forward and lead when they get to our high schools. And I know this morning, thinking of Rainbow City or Rainbow Middle, and then this morning, at Southside, one of our former leaders at the middle school, Leanne Satterfield, who's a soccer player, and she plays other sports too, but she led this morning. And she's a 10th grader now, and she even led some last year. So seeing those young people feeling comfortable to step in and lead as they go forward, that's critical. And so I have begun this year even with getting some 6th graders involved and preparing them to be leaders going forward because that's going to be the future. And the other thing is they would a whole lot rather listen to one of their classmates or teammates than they had me or any adult. That brings them brings their involvement and to have a peer that's involved in leading.
We're talking with Brian Mintz of the Etowah County Fellowship of Christian Athletes. And I know one of the big fundraisers that you guys do is the annual golf tournament. That is coming up next month, about a month from right now, October 10th, I believe. Is that Monday, October 10th? Give us some details on this 2022 version of the FCA Max Watson Memorial Golf Tournament.
Yes, and for years we lost Max a couple of years ago to cancer, and he had been the leader and the force behind the golf tournament for years, long before I was involved, and so we thought it was the appropriate thing to do to name that for him. And the past couple of years, we've been very successful. And hey, it's just a great day to get together. It's Columbus Day, and we've kept it there in the fall. That's most people are off work or can get off work or whatever the case is. But hey, if you're a golfer, we wish you'd come play with us. And like I said, it's a great day for a lot of the people that have supported FCA, and they continue to play. And this year, it's going to be at Twin Bridges Golf Club in Gadsden. And like you said, October the 10th, and that's going to be a 9 o'clock tee-off. And that will be lunch included. And it's $400 a team, 4-man scramble, $400 a team, $100 a person. And then, of course, hey, if you would be a whole sponsor, that's $100. And this is, like I said, really and truly, it's the only true fundraiser we do. Now, the Victory Banquet, we've been able to raise some funds from that, but that was never the intention of that, and still is not necessarily the intent. But this is really, the golf tournament's the only thing that we do as a fundraiser. The rest of the things is usually expenses. So we love for people to get involved. And Chase, let me just throw this in too. We would always welcome, and it's really the heart of the ministry. And one of the reasons I don't have to do as much fundraising is we've got so many people that are involved in monthly giving, and that's really the heart of the ministry, so that we can budget and plan. And we have like having these huddles. We have some donors that'll just call me up and say, hey, I would like to buy breakfast for the Southside Huddle or Glencoe Huddle or Oaks Bluff, whatever. And but then the monthly donors, some of those are $20 a month, some of them are $200 a month. But the amount doesn't matter. it's having people that are involved, and every little bit adds up and helps us with our budget monthly so that we can plan better for the months coming in the ministry as we move through the year.
Yeah, absolutely. Brian Mintz of the Etowah County Fellowship of Christian Athletes joining us this afternoon. And you can check them out on Facebook, Fellowship of Christian Athletes, Etowah County. And they do a good job of keeping us updated on what all's going on with the Etowah County FCA. Brian, thanks for what you do. Thanks for your time this afternoon. And we'll talk to you again next week.
All right. Thank you so much, Chase.
Thank you. Brian Mintz of the Etowah County Fellowship of Christian Athletes here on WKXX Live. We've had a lot of great guests on the show today, but we still got a lot to discuss. We've got high school football happening all across the area tonight. We'll give you a rundown of that. We'll make a pick on who we think will win that Bills-Rams game tonight as the NFL season starts today. All that is ahead, but we want to remind you we're brought to you by Frank's Roofing. Our studio developed a roof leak. Guess who we called? We called Frank's Roofing. The estimate was free. The price was fair. They got on it. The next day, they got the job done. They were professional. They were efficient. They didn't leave a mess. So do what we did. Trust Frank's Roofing for your shingle, metal, or flat roof repair or replacement. Call 256-458-8531. That is 256-458-8531 for a free estimate. That is Frank's Roofing. Much more WKXX Live as we roll on this Thursday here on Fox Sports 102.9.
Fall is in the air at the Gadsden Mall. See the new selections from Belk and Martin's Family Clothing. The new fall body care and home fragrances at Bath & Body Works. Seasonal ideas from Balloons by Lynn, where all your fall parties and events come to life. And browse the Collector Showcase, featuring comics, toys, sports cards, posters, jewelry, frame prints, and memorabilia. September 15th through the 25th. See you this fall at the Gadsden Mall.
You know who WKXX calls for all their HVAC needs? All American HVAC Services. Hey, it's Chase from WKXX Live. The heat in our studio went out, and guess who we called? All American HVAC Services. They're family-owned, veteran-operated, and they take pride in their quality of work. And they're going to keep you informed through the whole process. They're going to work on units of all makes and models. So for all of your heating and air needs, give All American HVAC Services a call at 256-393-0104 for a free estimate.
Graceland of Gadsden has almost 100 portable buildings ready for immediate delivery, with more on the way. It's like shopping a portable building supercenter. Buildings so durable, your grandkids will still be enjoying them. Ask about rent to own. 2 easy payments get you free delivery, free setup, free anchoring, then no payments for 3 full months. Alabama's largest selection of portable buildings means no more crosstown trips. Store everything in your own backyard. Highway 278 East Oaks Bluff and Graceland of Gadsden on Facebook. Five days only. Downgrade your payment pain. Upgrade your ride at Twin City Used Cars September Vehicle Exchange and Credit Forgiveness Event. Is your current payment, payoff, or interest rate too high? Time to trade in, trade up, and lower your payment or interest rate at Twin City. Even if you've been late or slow to pay or had a repossession, pay nothing till December, and no money down deals are available. The goal? 100% approval.
The best deals on 4 wheels.
Twin City, Galt Avenue, South Fort Payne, 901 First Avenue, Gadsden.
WKXX 102.9 and People's Independent Bank take time every day to salute our first responders. Thank you for keeping us safe. Each week, WKXX 102.9 will choose a first responder of the week and give them $100. To nominate a first responder unit, go to WKXX.com. People's Independent Bank serves Boaz, Scottsboro, Oaks Bluff, Douglas, Steele, Gurley, Fife, Powell, and Sylvania. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Being an Army Ranger is a very fast-paced lifestyle. I was clearing a weapons cache in Haditha, Iraq, when the building collapsed on me, burying me alive. I spent 6 months in the hospital and a year of recovery. When I was separated from the military, I just felt like I was useless because I only had this one thing that I was supposed to do, and then that one thing was taken away from me. And then one day, I got a call from Wounded Warrior Project. They asked me to come to a workout, and I decided that I was going to get better, both physically and mentally. Now I'm a warrior leader. I create events and opportunities for other veterans locally. Wounded Warrior Project did a phenomenal job reminding me that my injuries aren't going to define who I am. And because of that, I can do anything that I want.
See how we help warriors combat stigma at woundedwarriorproject.org/combat stigma.
To protect his family from disaster, Steve used his camera phone. Done. By taking pictures of his important documents, Steve can always have them stored online. Learn more simple disaster prep tips at ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
Hey, Oxford. We are your local sports station. Fox Sports 102.9 and 99.7.
WKXX live here on this Thursday afternoon. Chase and Gerhard with you, 256-413-1029. If you want to get a phone call in as we roll into our final segment on this Thursday, before we get some high school football underway. And most games, there's a few that are still going to be played tomorrow night, but most games being shifted to tonight, trying to avoid the potential weather that's coming through. But before we get into the games, longtime Alabama High School Athletic Association, Greg Brewer, who was over officials, passed away. I believe it was last weekend. Mm-hmm. He passed away, and so I know a lot of officials across the state of Alabama will have him on their mind tonight.
Yeah, most certainly. And ironically, the service and the funeral and all the ceremonies to honor his life was today. And so a lot of officials that would love to be in Florence right now and celebrating and honoring his life will not be able to go to Florence because they are now officiating a ball game. And I know they'll be officiating with heavy hearts, but he was a great advocate for officials in a time where very few are. He served at the AHSAA for 28 years, and he was the director of officials. I worked with him side by side really closely the past couple of years during the Alabama Officials Association Hall of Fame banquet, helping them put together their video for the honorees each and every year. And they always put in several just incredible officials. So I got to sit shotgun and listen to people talk about, refereeing and everything from high school volleyball with two people in the stands to Super Bowls and NBA finals and high stakes volleyball games and things like that. And he was an advocate once again for all officials. He wanted new officials in the game. He loved new blood, but he was also kind of on the forefront of being able to get in as far as rule changes and things implemented in the game. He was the rules manual official as well as the rules editorial official for the sport of football. And also in baseball, he was the chairman, and he helped institute the new pinch count rule. I say new; it's been enforced now for a few years, and that rule has soon quickly been adopted by other states around the nation. And he also helped establish an officiating course for some of the new guys that got into the game, and so. Obviously a big shout out to him, a life certainly well lived, and a lot of our friends that are at different schools with the AHSAA and of course with the officials really with the heavy hearts today remembering his great life.
For sure. And so lots of games happening tonight. We're going to give you a rundown. Typically we would do that on Fridays, but they have changed things up on us this week. So here are the games that are happening tonight. You've got Boaz at Crossville tonight. Also, we've got Collinsville at Pisgah, Coosa Christian at Decatur Heritage. You've got Donahoe at Wadley, Etowah at Fultondale, which that game was actually scheduled for tonight.
That's right.
Everybody else wanted to join them for some Thursday night football. You got Fife at Whitesburg Christian. You got the game we'll have here on Fox Sports 102.9, Geraldine at Hoax Bluff. You've got Guntersville at Douglas. Hanceville comes to Asheville. Also tonight, you've got Leeds at St. Clair County. You've got Munford at Talladega. Ohatchee at Sylvania. Oxford on the road at Huffman. Also tonight, you've got Plainview at Piedmont. Raglan is on the road at Randolph County. Southside goes to Springville tonight. You've got Spring Garden is at Victory Christian. And let's see, you got Weaver at Childersburg, Welborn on the road at Beulah tonight. You got Westbrook Christian, and they are at Glencoe. And then West End, the Patriots, on the road at Southeastern tonight. So those are the Northeast Alabama games that will be played tonight. We still have a few coming up tomorrow night. We've got Jacksonville at Anniston, which a lot of eyeballs are going to be on. And then you've got Alexandria at Lincoln, and then Albertville at Sparkman over on our sister station, Power 107.5. That one is still taking place tomorrow. And so if you're going out tomorrow, be sure to pack your umbrella and your poncho. But tonight should be nice.
Yeah, for sure. Just in case tomorrow, you might want to prepare for the rain. Some forecasts say probably some storms. A lot of others are saying just heavy rain. So we'll all find that out tomorrow. But yes, it will be. We're expecting most of the northern part of the state to get a little soaking at some point tomorrow, and we just hope that at your game that you don't, if you go to a game, that you stay relatively dry.
Yeah, but lots of great games tonight. Just looking at the list of games, which ones are kind of ones you're watching this week in high school football?
Yeah, there's a few on the board for tonight that I'm really interested in. Obviously, the game that will be right here on Fox Sports 102.9 that you'll be on with Coach Watkins, with Geraldine and Hoax Bluff. That's, to me, a really interesting game in this region. I think it's one of the games that can make or break, or actually start deciding region playoff spots, I should say. I think Collinsville-Pisgah is another really interesting ball game going into this week. And then a really nice battle for Spring Garden. Really more so for Spring Garden. Can they get back off the turf after not scoring a point last week? They're not used to that over there at Spring Garden. And Wadley is a really solid team, so I want to see how they react after knocking off the number 2 team in the state as they host Donahoe this week. So that kind of watching both Wadley and Spring Garden after last week, I think that was probably one of the more surprising results. Not who won, but how. And so I want to see how both teams react to that game. Also, Oxford looked really good last week against Chase Valley. Now back on the road, going to the Birmingham area to take on Huffman. How do they look in that matchup? I'd love to see how Coach Sam Adams' team's responds to that. So those are the few of the games that I'm looking at as we go forward here in the region.
Sure, and even the games tomorrow night. Jacksonville and Anniston is going to be huge. Alexandria at Lincoln. Lincoln coming off they started the season 2-0, and then Southside put it to them last week, and so that should be a good one down in Lincoln tomorrow.
Yeah, that should be. I think that's going to be a fun step for me in the way that region plays out. I'm talking specifically now with the Southside region, because also I think in that one you have your first real kind of quote unquote, I don't know if you can call it upset. We'll see how the season plays out. But as you mentioned, Lincoln was playing really good football going into that matchup with Southside. Southside ends up putting it to them. So in the same way about Wadley and Spring Garden, how does Southside respond to having that huge win? That'll be really interesting. They play obviously in tonight's game, but Alexandria and Lincoln, once again, 2 teams coming off a pair of losses, and you could probably make the argument that Alexandria might be the best team without a win this season. And so can they bounce back off the turf, after losing a couple of tough ones to Jacksonville and to Moody? Can they bounce back off the turf and have a solid season overall? I think they can, but they'll try to get it done probably in the rain tomorrow at Keith Howard Memorial Stadium.
Should be a fun couple of nights of high school football. You'll hear Hoax Bluff tonight, 6:30 for our countdown to kick off. 7 o'clock, we will kick it off there between the Geraldine Bulldogs and the Hoax Bluff Eagles. And tomorrow night, you'll hear high school football scoreboard. And I think we just wanted to make Jeff Allen's life easier by getting all the scores there, most of the scores in tonight. But you'll hear Jeff and Phil tomorrow night.
Yeah, he's got the early part of his work will be already set in stone there. And speaking from a media perspective, there's a lot of advantages for Thursday night as you get ready for your Friday programs.
Yeah, for sure. That leads us into our pick for tonight's NFL. First NFL game at the 2022 season. Bills, Rams, who you got?
This is going to be a really interesting game. The Rams ring ceremony, banner, all of that. A lot of times there is a bit of a letdown. I expect Josh Allen to go into LA, and I like the Buffalo Bills to win tonight.
Yeah, I've got it set on the the DVR to record this. I'll be doing Hoax Bluff, but I want to go back and watch this one because I think it could be a really fascinating game for multiple different reasons. I agree with you, though. I think the Bills are going to go in and get the win tonight over the defending Super Bowl champs. We'll talk about that tomorrow. We'll break down high school. We'll get you ready for a big weekend of college. Hope you join us tomorrow for a 1-hour edition at WKXX Live. We'll do it again at 2 o'clock.
Gregerson's Cash Saver, home of the guaranteed lowest total food bill this week. Whole or half boneless pork loins, $1.97 a pound. Center cut boneless pork chops, $2.20 a pound. And a great lunch or after school snack, Oscar Mayer uploaded Lunchable Nachos Grande. Prices came down, and go Eagles.
Healthy living starts with a healthy community. That's why Hoax Bluff Drug Shop, your community Health Mart pharmacy, has invested in our community's health for years. Get the personalized care and attention you deserve to stay healthy and feel good. Come see the Hoax Bluff Drug Shop difference for yourself at 5702 U.S. Highway 278 East, Hoax Bluff. Health Mart, taking the time to listen and care.
This season, the Hoax Bluff football broadcasts are brought to you in part by Scott Young and S&G Machine, your full-service machine shop specializing in custom metal handrails, iron fencing, fire pits, decorative metal wall hangings, and custom metal gates complete with installation and openers. S&G Machine, with over 14,000 patterns ranging from initials to sports teams to wildlife scenes to make your home a unique reflection of you. S&G Machine LLC, on Main Street, Hoax Bluff, and on Facebook.
Five days only. Downgrade your payment pain. Upgrade your ride at Twin City